Hey guys, it's Matt here, and first of all I'd like to say thank you. My video on Mafia 2's Definitive Edition is by far my most watched video on my channel, and as far as the comments go, it's easy to see that most of you guys have found my channel through that video. The support on my channel so far has been great and I really appreciate it. It also means that most of you watched that video and directly flooded my comment section with comments like this one, or any of these ones. So I'm kind of making this video to rectify the mistakes that I made in that one. So I'll start by saying, yes, you guys are right, I mix up remasters, remakes and reboots in that video, and I'm sorry, it won't happen again, I promise, I get it now. Remaster, remake, reboot. Long story short, this one is just a coat of paint over the original, this one is pretty much the same game but rebuilt from the ground up, and this one is just a completely different game with returning elements from the game it was based on. Cool, we got that out of the way, and at some point I might make a video on this subject since it is interesting to talk about, but this video is not going to be about that. This video is, however, about the remaster. See, I learned from my mistakes. Mafia 2 Definitive Edition. In the at this point 2-year-old video, my experiences with the game were far from good, and in most cases playing the original game was a lot more enjoyable and, playable. But it's been 2 years, more than enough time for the developers to fix the known issues in the game. And since I hope that the developers did their job, I'm also here to rectify some of the mistakes I made in that video. So without any further delay, today I'm going to find out, is Mafia 2's Definitive Edition still really that bad? Let's set up the ground rules, which I should have been more clear on the last time as well. I play on PC, so unfortunately I can't really say anything about the console versions of the game, though my comment section seems to agree that the console versions seem to run significantly better than the PC version. For this review I did a few things in order to make sure that this time I can definitively say, no pun intended, if this version is superior or inferior to the original. So I replayed the original, I replayed the Definitive Edition, I compared the two, and I compared it to the experience I had with it 2 years ago. Upon starting the original game, I'm immediately greeted with a massive wave of happiness. Don't get me wrong, this is starting to show its age in many instances. The low quality textures make sure that you won't forget this game came out 12 years ago, as do the pixelated shadows and the washed out lighting. Gameplay wise, it's pretty much the same story. Movement is still manageable but fairly clunky, especially driving in cars makes it feel like driving a rusty bike is a smoother experience. And the gunplay is okay, I guess, though in my opinion it never really felt like the bullets end up where you're aiming at. So why am I still filled with joy as soon as I start this game? Well, like I've said in that previous video, so much of the game's flaws can be forgiven because of two simple reasons. 1, it's a 12-year-old game, and 2, it makes up for most of these flaws with the things that the game does incredibly well. The story of Vito's life, going from an immigrant who's forced to join the army during the Second World War to his descent into the criminal underbelly of the United States, is still as gripping as it was when the game first released. You can even forgive the fact that most of his lines are delivered so flat and uninspired that it makes Tom Holland's performance in the Uncharted movie look like a goddamn masterclass in acting.
5 minutes, we're already talking about my deadbeat father. Can we change the subject, please?
Simply because other characters like Joe deliver their lines so well.
Hey, you could stay with me as long as you need to, and we'll find you a job where you can make good money without killing yourself, alright?
The fact that this story spans several years makes this game and this world a one-of-a-kind experience. Seeing the same open world not only through different seasons but also through different time periods is something that has never really been done afterwards. It makes this world that much more believable and immersive, as well as the insane attention to detail. Things like the optional conversations with NPCs that can be easily overlooked, being pulled over by cops when disobeying the law, shops becoming an active crime scene after you shoot up the place. Those are the things that you still don't see enough of in open world games, even nowadays. But as you'll make your way through this game, you'll quickly realize it isn't all sunshine and rainbows. Even though the Definitive Edition has gotten a reputation of being a buggy mess, don't forget that this 12-year-old game also has its fair share of unsolved problems. Most of the bugs and glitches in this game come down to mistakes in the game's lighting and shadows, like stuttering lights and objects that get deformed. I get unceremoniously reminded to that when I'm on my way to meet with Mike Brewski, but instead get welcomed by the polygon version of John Carpenter's The Thing.
God damn it, Mike! You put your grubby mitts on my fucking coat!
Also, the game crashed. Good start. So yes, these are game-breaking issues, and I really don't want to downplay any of these problems, but I still really enjoyed my time with it. Even after all these years, this is a classic, and the story and many of its open-world elements are worth talking about. Which makes it pretty frustrating to start up the Definitive Edition. Yes, of course, the story, its interesting characters, the open world and its unique attention to detail are still preserved from the original, with the added benefit of having improved visuals. This mostly comes down to HD textures and some improved sounds, but the biggest improvement can be seen in the shadows and lighting. The one thing that makes this game stand out from the original is this exact improvement. But what mostly disappoints me after going back to it now is that the exact same problems I had 2 years ago still exist in the game. Be it constant stuttering during free roam, huge frame drops in high intensity sequences, lines of dialogue which will randomly play through one another, or just weird glitches you'll encounter simply by playing the game. Nothing has changed in these past 2 years, let alone that in many instances the game got a graphical downgrade in comparison to the original. Where characters' eyes would move independently from their head in the original, now they almost look super glued into place. Where long raincoats would wave in the wind or move by the movement of a character, it now looks like these pieces of cloth are stuck to your legs like a shower curtain. And apart from most of the textures being improved, that can't be said for all of them, and in a lot of places you'll still see these pixel clusters. Now, doesn't this just sound like a lot of nitpicking? Yes, it does. And isn't it a bit unfair that I forgive the original for its issues but not the Definitive Edition? Well, yeah, probably, but for a game that calls itself the Definitive Edition, it leaves a lot of issues from the original unsolved, and it does a lot of things even worse. And after 2 years, you might expect some sort of improvement for these relatively small issues. Just look at the changes made to a game like Fallout 76 or Cyberpunk 2077 in the past few years. But a quick Google search will confirm that nope, the developers didn't do jack shit to patch the existing bugs, fix performance issues, or revert to animations that were better in the original and just left the game to die. And with that said, I can't really give any other advice than don't buy the Definitive Edition, it's still a buggy mess.
Mr. Angelo?
Yes?
Mr. Salieri sends his regards.
But as much as I want to discourage people from buying this version of the game, there are some very important aspects I glossed over in that previous video, which I definitely should rectify. Because as bad as this version's performance is, there are some significant additions I didn't take into account last time. Whether you think this version or the original is better looking, I'll leave that for you to decide. Yes, the Definitive Edition has superior shadows, lighting and HD textures, but the original arguably has better animations. Let alone that when you're playing any of these two games, the graphical changes aren't that apparent to begin with. It's not like you see a difference similar to Mafia 1 in its Definitive Edition, but you know, that's a remake and this is a remaster, and yeah, I won't start about that again. But apart from the graphical aspect, the Definitive Edition is by far the most complete version of the game. Here you also get access to the DLC packs, which have to be bought separately in the original game. The DLC packs contain several different things. Additional story missions following Joe's adventures during the time that Vito was in jail, additional game modes following the character Jimmy in quote-unquote arcade-style city-based challenges ranging from assassinations to timed vehicle-based missions. And all the other packages just contain new cars and new outfits for Vito, all having their own specific theme. Apart from the DLC packs, if you have Mafia 1's and 3's Definitive Edition in your library, you will also get cars and outfits from those games in this one and vice versa. I will admit it's strange to drive through 50s America in a late 60s muscle car, but you know, extra content. But let's say you don't care about the DLC and all the additional outfits and cars and whatever. Even then, I'd still have to say that buying the definitive edition is the best way to go. And that's because by far the biggest oversight in my previous video is that when you buy Mafia 2's definitive edition, on Steam at least, you instantly also get the original game for free. In total, that means you get all the possible content this game has to offer, including the original game, for the same price it would normally cost you to just buy the base game. And to my surprise, when I booted up the original, I also had the DLC in that game. So, in conclusion, yes, I'm an idiot. But is Mafia 2's definitive edition still really that bad? Well, yes, it is. Even though it's a graphically upgraded version of a beloved game, the insanely annoying performance issues and the developer's lack of interest in fixing these make it glaringly obvious it's still as broken as it was when it released 2 years ago. However, if you still want to experience this unique game, its immersive world and its gripping story, you should buy the definitive edition instead of the original. Though the original probably has a higher spot in the hearts of many fans, it's easy to look through rose-tinted glasses and forget that this game has also had a lot of issues for many years. Besides, the definitive edition is by far the most complete version. It's arguably the best looking version, and if you can look past the performance issues and unresolved bugs and glitches, you'll still have a great time playing it. But most importantly, if you can't look past those broken aspects, just play the original, which you now have as well. As always, thanks a lot for watching, and thanks again for all the support on my channel. I hope this video cleared up some of the mistakes I made in that previous one, and of course I hope you enjoyed it. Also, let me know what your experience with this game has been in the past 2 years, and if you still encounter the same issues. Also, don't forget to like the video if you liked it, and subscribe to my channel if you like my content. And I really hope to see you in my next video. Bye!